Ow! Greetings, YouTube. This is Deckrash, better known as Brandon. Now, I know it's been a really long time since I've last been on YouTube, and really it's just life kind of gets in the way. And also just doing a lot of work, both freelancing and also writing my books, which I had promised to talk about a little bit more. And, well, like I said, life kind of got in the way. I want to try to rectify that soon, but for now, I want to talk about something a little bit different. Specifically, the revival of a show that I absolutely love, something that was a big part of my later childhood, a show called Quantum Leap, which they have renewed and not even so much rebooted, but revived, as I said before, for this current year. And that has left me a little excited and also a little afraid, considering how things are in Hollywood in this day and age, with Hollywood being terrified to make anything new and, just being flooded with reboots and remakes. And then also just the whole political climate with just the woke idiocy nowadays. Not going to get into that. And this was what my biggest fear of the new revival of Quantum Leap was going to be. But now that I've watched the first 3 episodes, I have to admit that it's allayed a great deal of my fears, and I'm actually been very happy about it. Now, I could have started these reviews from the very first episode, but a lot of people like to get into a show after watching 3 episodes to gauge whether or not they're going to like it or they're going to just drop it. And so at the 3 episode point is something where I think you can get a good feel, or at least you ought to be able to get a good feel for a story, for a show, for a TV show or whatever, to get the feeling of whether or not you're going to want to watch it. People do that with anime, and so I think we can still do that with other programming, even programming that involves live action stuff like this show, Quantum Leap. And so to get people up to speed, it is a revival of the original series that aired from, I think it was 1989 to 1992, starring Scott Bakula, who happens to be one of my favorite actors, and Dean Stockwell in their titular roles of Dr. Sam Beckett, who, as the story always says in the very beginning, stepped into the Quantum Leap accelerator and vanished. And Al, playing the hologram, the Project Observer, who follows Sam around as he leaps through time from life to life into different people's bodies. Whether it's his mind leaping or his physical leaping, it's never been 100% clear either way, but that's neither here nor there. But those two had an amazing chemistry, and all those episodes with him going into a particular person in a particular place and time and helping them out, putting right what once went wrong, as the story goes, really made for a great emotional impact and a show that really spoke to the heart, especially when it dealt with issues that were prominent at the time and even stuff that still rings true nowadays. The first time he leaped into a black guy was in the South during the segregation era, leaping into a woman, having to, suss his way through life through a woman's eyes. One time he even just leaped into a chimpanzee. One time he leaped into a person with, who was, mentally challenged. So, he had to go from here to there, different kinds of lives and being extremely flexible, and all the while helping other people. There were some episodes that really, like I said, really hit you right in the feels, as they say. So they're trying now. NBC has revived the series as a continuation, taking place in this day and age instead of the slightly 10 years in the future thing where Quantum Leap starts. The series started in '89, but it takes place initially in 1996 and goes on from there. So, but we're trying to see if lightning can strike twice here. Instead of Sam Beckett, who, for those of you who've watched Quantum Leap, at the very final episode, it said Dr. Sam Beckett never returned home. That now we have a different Project Quantum Leap that's being headed by a man named Dr. Ben Sung, becomes a time traveler for reasons unknown. He steps into the accelerator once again when the whole thing wasn't ready yet and vanishes, leaving his team to figure out why he even did that in the first place. In the original series, Sam did it because he was pressured by the government to prove his theories or lose funding. In this case, the big mystery is part of the plot. In the original series, they pretty much just focused chiefly on Sam's adventures through time. And only maybe after the second season did they occasionally show things that were going on in his own time, but it was very rare that they did that. In this series, however, they are trying to make a good like A plot and B plot involving Ben's adventures in time and what's going on at Project Quantum Leap, chiefly trying to figure out what the reason why he leaped in the first place and dealing with the fallout from all of that. And in the process, you're bringing in characters who have connections actually to the original cast and the original Quantum Leap Adventures. Already, they brought in Al's wife, who, if you remember from the original series, originally, in the original timeline, had actually moved on, thinking that Al was dead because he was kept as a POW, I think it was after the Vietnam War. But in this, what Sam did at the end of the series, leaped into her home and told her that her husband was alive and coming home, therefore changed history for the better for his friend Al, who had, before that point in time, had issues with women, never was able to find anyone who was like his wife, and was constantly dealing with alimony and fallouts from various divorces and whatnot. This basically changed his life for the better. And also because that they have a daughter. And her name is Janice, and we'll get to that in a moment. And so, things ended up turning out for the better for Al. Well, so this series comprises multiple characters, of course, in the Quantum Leap gang. Raymond Lee's Dr. Ben Song said that about him. You have Caitlin Bassett as Addison Augustine. That she is the hologram this time, and you'll learn from the very first episode her connections to Ben, particularly that they were. That this is no big, huge spoiler. That they were fiance. So she was his fiance, and so it was leaving her wondering, if she's ever even going to get the man she loves back. So that kind of makes me wonder, whatever happened to Donna after Sam vanished and never came back. If you remember the original series, Donna was Sam's wife, and Sam didn't even remember her until he had, temporarily went back home, but gave it all up to rescue Al. Anyway, you have Mason Alexander Park as Ian Wright. He's sort of the computer geek person. You have Narissa Lee as Jen, that's the Quantum Leap head of security. She hasn't had a whole lot to do with it. She's more conversational and being able to suss out things in the background. A lot of these characters do things in the background, so they have a bigger or smaller part to play. And then, of course, you got Ernie Hudson as Herbert Magic Williams. He's the head of Quantum Leap. Basically, he's the government liaison for the whole deal. But also, if those of you are hardcore fans of Quantum Leap, remember, Magic is somebody that Sam had leaped into, I believe it was during the Vietnam War, to save Sam's brother's life, if memory serves. I didn't have time to look up every last bit of information. I'm going by also things that I looked at in various, seen in various videos and articles that I read about the series leading up to this. So you have an interesting little cast that composes that B plot, and what's been going on is a very intriguing unfolding of things that are just keep you interested and keep you riveted. And well, if you want just this cursory evaluation of the story, which we can stop here. And for those who aren't interested in spoilers of any kind, the first 3 episodes, like I said, well, I really didn't go into a lot of detail. Excuse me, that was my phone. I really love each episode. Like I said, it really allayed my fears, and they're very, very respectful to the source material, to everything that has happened up to now, all the events, all the people. Even the most recent episode had a really big reveal that involved something from the original series. So it maintains a very strong connection. Each episode does in the A plot involving Ben and his adventures in time still has those plots that try to hit you where the heart is. So it still has those issues, him dealing with personal things for the person he leaps into and also those around him. So you still have that that heartwarming element to it, though it's to me, I feel that the series doesn't have quite as much heart as the original did, but still is working on it. The most recent episode, I think, really probably was the best out of all three, where it really kind of got to the heart of the matter. But it also had to draw upon a particular episode that was very well known to everybody. So, if you're just wanting me to give it a 1 to 10, thus far this series has a solid 7.5 out of 10. It came out the gate swinging with good nods to the original, with still staying true to what the original was about, and also bringing in a little something new, which makes me wonder what's going to happen now. Now, an aside. Unfortunately, from what I've heard, Scott Bakula went public on Instagram saying that he chose to turn down the role of Sam Beckett for this revival. But the way the plot is going, I'm kind of wondering if he just said that to throw us off. Kind of like in the way that J.J. Abrams had said that Khan wasn't going to be in Star Trek Into Darkness, but he actually ended up being in Into Darkness after all. Now, I know a lot of people didn't like that movie, but that's the closest analogy I can think of. Make of that what you will. I liked the movie, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so like I said, 7.5 out of 10. For those of you who are looking to decide whether or not to watch the show, I highly recommend you do, because not only is it really good and really respectful to the original, but also NBC kind of put this in a bad time slot where it airs Monday nights, and a lot of people are watching Monday Night Football and really not much else. So it's had to compete. And not only that, it's a lot of people are just not watching TV all that much. And now, to its credit, it also does air on the Peacock streaming channel, on Peacock streaming. So if you ever were looking for an excuse to get Peacock, that's your excuse right there. The show's very, very much worth watching, and I really hope that for those of you who are on the fence, this will, go ahead and get you going to watch some more, because the show really needs a big push by fans to show others that, yes, this is really good, it's worth watching, it's worth keeping around. Because I am a little worried that NBC is just going to choose to cancel it if nothing is done. And that's because the reviews of it have been kind of meh to it's pretty good to meh, and we really need something. People are going to be able to give a bigger push to show that it's really good and really worth keeping around. So that's what I got to say about that. Now, for those who want to stick around for spoilers, I'm going to go into that territory and just touch on the episodes just a bit. So the first episode, of course, it kind of establishes everything, showing the relationship that Ben has with and I think I said Allison. I keep saying Allison. It's Addison. I'm sorry. So the relationship Ben has with Addison, and it starts off with a party, them celebrating the project, and then he goes in when Addison isn't looking and is in communication with some mysterious person, and saying, now's the time if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it. You got to do it now. And they show him going in the accelerator. And then he leaps, and he finds himself in 1985 in the life of a person named Nick Rounder, who, as the story progresses, you find has connections with one of the guys in this group of thieves who are trying to steal a very valuable artifact. Now, back at home, everyone's scrambling to try to figure out why on God's green earth Ben did this when they were years away from human testing. Not only that, but Ben was supposed to have been the hologram, and Addison was supposed to have been the time traveler, which is just completely turns everything on its ear. So everyone's dealing with this and confused and wondering what's going on. Well, as the story progresses, you find out that who's behind the whole deal, who was in communication with Ben, and you find out it was Al's daughter. And so her name is Janice. And what happened was that she was turned down when she wanted to become part of the project. She was turned down because essentially she had too much of an emotional connection to the project, meaning that Al was her father. And you learn this as in the third episode that Al never gave up trying to find Sam, and his wife, didn't want to have that same kind of fate happen to her daughter. Even though her daughter says, "Well, what if I succeeded?" So it's kind of an interesting way to jump off. In the second episode, he has him on the space shuttle Atlantis, and they run into some technical issues when they're trying to deploy the first part of the International Space Station. And when Al leaps into the body of this astronaut, cannot remember his name right off the top of my head. Anyway, they find out that he supposedly died when they had to declassify some of NASA's records. And so though he's able to avoid that fate, he also has to save the shuttle now from an even worse fate because of space debris that ended up hitting it. So there's a lot of really cool visual effects going on in that episode, especially involving spacewalk and weightlessness and whatnot. So it's definitely an episode I think that was probably more on the expensive side, but it was really, really cool to watch. And also, it revealed a little bit more in the B plot about Janice. They managed to find her house and raided the servers that she kept in her house, even though she had blown the servers from remotely. They found something very important that had a whole bunch of equations and things like that Ben had been working on with her. Interesting enough, in the first episode, they had discovered that Ben had been working with her on certain equations, and had uploaded a whole bunch of data into Ziggy. And yes, Ziggy is still there, though unfortunately Ziggy doesn't talk, and that kind of irritates me. Anyway, they upload a bunch of information into Ziggy that they're still trying to suss out, but this kind of helps them to figure out the exact thing that Ben was trying to do. Is that they had a certain point he was trying to reach, and has been leaping around in time to try to reach that certain point. So even though Ben, like Sam, is suffering from partial amnesia and can barely even remember who he is now, but he's still leaping. So that leads to the next episode, the most recent episode that happened last night. And he leaps into a guy named Danny Hill, a prize fighter in 1977, right before he's about to go for the World Middleweight Championship, which history shows that he lost. Well, you find out that there's a whole lot more going on than just the whole fight, which, of course, everybody kind of figured out there. But this episode, to me, had the best character interaction out of all of them, because you really were able to get to see what each person was really trying, really had at stake here. And not only that, certain things that they did that might not have been the best decisions. One of them being Danny's girlfriend, also the other fighter that that he's going up against, she's his girlfriend. So yeah, that would also cause some problems, I would particularly imagine. And not only that, but Danny's brother, who's the one who's helping him out, training him for that fight, having fought in the Vietnam War and suffering from severe PTSD. So that was an episode that really did kind of show off some of the effects of that and what it can do to a person, and also the fallout from that would happen if Ben wouldn't change history. And like I said, in the B plot, they basically figure out what what Ben was trying to do when it comes to the time traveling. And they said they likened it to how the Voyager used the gravitational pull of the planets as a slingshot to get to the outer planets, the inner planets to get to the outer planets. But they don't know where he's headed. Not only that, but Janice goes and talks to her mom, who Magic knows, and wants to get the stuff that Al had involving the project out of the house, but she doesn't want to do it. So she drugs her own mom to get that stuff. One of the things, it happens to be Al's old hand link to Ziggy, which for some reason still works for this iteration of Ziggy, it seems. And at the end of the episode, they show her using that to build something. Now, I am using Wikipedia, and that's of course not the most reliable data source. But in the Wikipedia entry, it says that she's using it for to make an imaging chamber. But really, they don't say what it is. It looks like some big dome thing. I thought that she was trying to rebuild her own version of Ziggy, which, if I want to go totally into fan theory territory here, I'm a little bit worried that she might be one of the reasons why the evil leapers come around. But for those of you who don't know what the evil leapers are, there was a small story arc in the fourth season, I think, of Quantum Leap, third or fourth season, where Sam encountered other time travelers who were hell bent on putting wrong what was right. So, and it made it look like they were actually maybe souls of the damned or something like that. I don't know. There was really they really didn't explain them all that well. All I remember was Zoe telling Aaliyah, the time traveler, Zoe was the hologram, that we bought our time out of hell to do this. So I don't know if she was just basically saying that where they came from was like hell, or that they were literally souls that were taken out of hell to do this. It would be very interesting if they have some episodes where they do encounter evil leapers again. So anyway, So like I said, we don't know what's going on at that very end of that episode, and so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, as things go along. I'm looking on the Wikipedia page, and they only have episodes 1 through 5, and I'm sincerely hoping that they have more than just 5 episodes for this season, or they're not just going to be doing half season and wait for a long time and then bring the other episodes. But, that remains to be seen. But so far, guys, I'm really liking this series, as I said before. And I'd really love to know what you guys think. And like I said, I hope this might have turned you on to the series, because it's actually really genuinely good. I think it's a great continuation of the series, and I never thought I'd see a return to Quantum Leap ever, So for a change, instead of something that's a remake or a redo, no, this is actually a continuation of something that was once beloved, and it didn't end up being woke trash or anything like that. It didn't insist upon the ethnicity or gender identity or sexual preference of their actors, but rather instead these characters are characters and are organically so. And I really enjoyed that. They're great nods to the original, and they show genuine connection to the original. So I can't wait to see what happens next. So that's about it on my end, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for listening. I really do appreciate it. If you guys have stuck with me before and are just seeing this popping up one more time, well, I'm really glad to be here, and I hope that you'll come back for more. I want to try to get out a new review of each episode as soon as I possibly can every time. I tend to be at work most of the days when it comes out, but we'll see. So once again, thank you very much for watching. And down below, if you feel so inclined, please like, share, subscribe, follow. And so once again, everyone, this is Dat Crash, better known as Brandon. As always, stay lucky and stay blessed. Take care.